Welcome to another installment of Interviews in Isolation. My name is Eckart Preu. I'm the music director of the symphony orchestras in Long Beach, California, Portland, Maine, and the Cincinnati Chamber Orchestra. Today, I'm being joined by Joshua Roman, a cellist who defies many norms and with whom I've worked together over many years in Spokane, in Portland, in Long Beach, in Stamford, and also in Cincinnati. Hi, Joshua. Thank you for taking time. I hear you've been quarantining in a pretty nice place. Where are you and why are you there?
Yes, so I'm in Santa Barbara, California, and back in December, I came here to be an artist in residence with this foundation, the Squire Foundation. And they have this beautiful home that I'm staying in, and I came here to write a double concerto for violin, cello, and chamber orchestra for Vadim Glucksmann, myself, and the Preu Chamber Orchestra in Columbus. And that got extended. They're very gracious to let me stay a little longer than the residency initially was for. And then while that was happening, everything changed and the pandemic descended upon us. All the concerts were canceled. And so they've basically just let me stay indefinitely at the moment. So I'm here in Santa Barbara, feeling very lucky not to be paying rent right now. And very lucky also to be able to go outside. You know, a lot of my friends in New York are stuck in apartments. So I get to go outside on the property and try to be healthy without having to risk exposure.
And that's what a lot of famous composers did in the past, like Mahler and Brahms, or so they just went somewhere on vacation in a little house or hut or whatever you call it, and wrote their best music there. So is that kind of what you're doing? You're kind of hunkered down and focusing on composing?
Now I am trying to. So I finished my double concerto a while back, and I have another project which I've started just began where I'm responding actually to the pandemic. So it's a kind of musical journal, and rather than composing it out by hand, I'm doing some notation, but for the most part, I'm doing it as a recording composition project. So multi-track cello layers, I'll play one thing and then play the next thing and sort of work on it that way using not only paper and pencil, but direct into the recording of the final product. And that's something that is starting to occupy my time. I think like a lot of people, it's been an up and down, you know, everything gets canceled and your life just suddenly changes and you're worried about your friends and your family. And so I've definitely gone through a lot of phases of not being super productive, but I'm starting to get into a rhythm and figure out how to use the time well. And I think that's important.
So what is a normal quarantine day for you like?
Well, I've been trying to get up early, and that happened for a while. Lately, that hasn't been the case.
That
Now
means
if I,
what exactly for you? 6, 4, 5?
well, actually, before the quarantine stuff started happening, when I was here and when I was composing the double concerto, I would get up at 5:30 or so every morning, and I would use that quiet time. It was great. It's hard being on the West Coast when a lot of your communications take place with East Coast people. As you know, if you wake up after 7, you wake up and your inbox is already full. Like you get out of bed, do your thing, you look at your inbox, and it's just like, oh my gosh, everyone's already getting ready to take their lunch break and emailing me about everything. So getting up early was really good. I'm trying to get back to that, but mostly each day I will say the one thing that is more routine than has been in the last decade is that I eat 3 meals a day at around the same time. Because I'm not traveling. You know that it's very different. It's
Yeah.
very different. So 3 meals a day around the same time. I do a lot of work that is just practicing and thinking, and then also communication. And then I try to set out specific times where I work with the recording equipment and do that. And it fluctuates when in the day it is. And then I stay up way too late trying to avoid social media and failing. I think like a lot of us do.
Yeah. I remember when you came to Cincinnati, getting takeout pizza with you like at impossible hours because there was nothing else open. So I was
Yeah,
Or
I
maybe it
remember
was by
that.
choice. I can't remember.
No, there wasn't a whole lot open and it was near the hotel, so we got it and ate it in the hotel lobby. I remember that. Yeah.
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 Now, being a musician, in particular, like a soloist, like yourself, is being like an athlete. Because you need to stay in shape. Do you have like daily exercises that you do like diligently every day?
So in December and January, I wasn't practicing very much. I was really focusing on writing music, and that was different. And then in February and the very beginning of March, I was performing again and sort of balancing it out. But then when that stopped, um, I started playing every day. I started playing Bach on March 12th when everything shut down for me. And I was playing that, sharing it online every day. And that kind of was my daily thing that kept me going. And then I transitioned out of that, and I'm still trying to play the Bach for myself. But actually, as a musician, having this time, I've been spending a lot of time going back to very basic stuff. So pulling out the old exercise book by Fritz Mogg that I used to really get into, playing scales every day for anywhere between 30 minutes to 2 hours, working on piatti caprices. I have a project for cellists that I'm doing right now that's going to take 12 weeks and go through the 12 piatti caprices. So that kind of stuff has been my daily, this is the same. And the one addition that I would say has changed from like 15 years ago or 20 years ago when I was in school is that I improvise every day now as well. That's a part of it.
Yeah.
So who knows what happens with it, but I do it as a way to sort of stay creative, synthesize all of the technical and creative aspects of playing. It's really good.
Yeah. It's interesting how improvisation used to be such an integral part of what touring artists just did. Listless, so that's
Yes.
just what they did, and it's just disappeared. And it's kind of nice to reacquire that, and it's very exhilarating when people do it on the spot in the concert.
Well, yeah, there are so many reasons to do it. And when I look at what am interested in doing right now, creatively and musically, I keep finding that it's very similar. You know, you made the comparison to the old composers, the composers of old, who would go out into the woods and or into nature and stay away from everyone and compose. I keep finding the stuff that really appeals to me in terms of the structure of being a musician is stuff from the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries. Is that idea that it's all one package, that I improvise, that I study old music, that I compose, that I'm very aware of musical styles around me in the day, that it's not all old music, but that everything is mixed together in this beautiful jumble. I think of Brahms a lot, who toured playing Hungarian gypsy music and was very aware of culture around him and absorbed that into his music. And when I think of Brahms and his traditional classical view, or traditional as I knew it growing up, he was always this very sort of strict, serious guy who never would have done anything like fun, but actually it was all in there. So it's been inspiring to get back to that in a way for me.
Is there something that you've learned about yourself that you didn't know before? Just being so isolated.
Yeah, so I knew that I was an introvert already. It's interesting as a performer and an introvert, you learn how to. I mean, I definitely get energy from crowds. I love it. I really miss being on stage. I had to listen to a recording to approve it for broadcast a couple of weeks ago, and it was one of the last concertos that I'd played. And I almost cried because I miss it so much. On the other hand, I'm figuring out the nuances of my own introversion, and I like to be able to be alone in the other room by choice. And I'm not the kind of introvert who could actually be a hermit. I like to be around people and have the option of hanging out, but then sort of going our separate ways and working on something for a while and re-energizing and then coming back together to share, work on it, get inspiration, just hang out. So I've definitely been learning the finer points of my own personal way of relating to other people and myself.
And so when you don't listen to classical music, and I don't know if you do actually voluntarily listen to classical. I don't. But if you don't listen to classical music, do you listen to music at all, like rock, pop, and if so, what?
Yeah, I do. It's pretty random. It would be difficult for me to say these are the times that I listen to music. The one thing that I can say for sure is that I do spend a lot of time listening to classical music for very specific reasons, especially in terms of getting to know new players or new music. I spend a lot of time kind of doing research listening. So that's very concentrated. I don't do that while I do other stuff. I'm sitting there listening to a piece, trying to absorb it. Generally, I don't do a whole lot of having music on in the background while I do anything else. Even my favorite pop music is, for the most part, I turn it on and I want to listen to it and do it. Maybe when I'm cooking, and definitely when I run. I go on runs. There aren't a whole lot of people out here where I am. It's not in the city. It's kind of in the mountains. So I can go on a run for 45 minutes and see 3 people, sometimes more, but it's very easy to stay 30 feet away from people. And I always have, that's not true. Sometimes I listen to the news podcasts like The Daily, but that's when I'll listen to music. And it tends to be in those instances. Lately, I've been gravitating towards electronic music that some of my friends do, like Emancipator. I love Emancipator. I listen to Radiohead. People give me suggestions and I'll listen to it and then add it into a playlist or not. So.
And so you mentioned cooking. So do you cook for yourself?
Oh man, it's been rough. I used to cook for myself and I really love cooking for other people. And I do really fancy stuff. Like I get really fancy. I love baking. I love cooking on the stove. I love tackling really difficult French recipes. But right now, just cooking for myself, I don't have the motivation. And also I decided to do a mostly plant-based diet a couple of months ago. So right now I don't have a whole lot of experience and skill with vegan food, elevated vegan food, I guess. And so I use a cast iron skillet and just throw whatever I have in there. I'm getting pretty tired of it. I need to start doing recipes.
Well, good luck with that. Thank you
Thanks.
so much. It was great talking to you.
You too. Thank you.